These are stories where love meets betrayal. Stories that make you see life a little differently.
The rain began as a whisper, almost gentle, tapping against the windows like tiny confessions. I sat alone in my apartment, watching the world dissolve into gray streams, each droplet reflecting pieces of my own fractured heart. He was supposed to come tonight. I had counted every minute, every shadow that moved across the street. The streetlights shimmered in puddles, painting everything in uncertain shades. I wondered if he would arrive with a smile or with a lie already curling in his words. Memories rose unbidden. Our first date in that small cafe by the river, the first time he held my hand, and the warmth of it had made the world fade away. I had believed in us then, and now that belief felt fragile, like wet paper ready to tear. The door opened. He entered, drenched, shaking off the rain, the familiar scent of him mingling with something new, unfamiliar. "I'm sorry I'm late," he said, voice quiet, careful. I nodded. I didn't need an excuse, not tonight. He sat across from me. We were close, yet a gulf stretched between us. I wanted to speak, to demand the truth, but I waited, letting the silence hold its weight. And then he began to talk. Small things at first, work, errands, the trivialities of life. But the words were a curtain, hiding something he could no longer conceal. Finally, he looked up. His eyes avoided mine, but the moment hung heavy. "I need to tell you something," he said. His hands trembled. "I've been with someone else." The words fell like shards of glass. I felt them pierce the air between us, into my chest, twisting something that had once been whole. I wanted to scream, to run, to make the world pay for this. But I stayed. I had to hear it. I had to face it. "Why?" I whispered, almost inaudibly. He looked at me then, truly looked, and I saw it. Shame, regret, confusion. "I don't know," he said. "Maybe I was lonely. Maybe I was seeking something I didn't understand. Maybe I was weak. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to push him away, erase him from every corner of my life. But there was a part of me that needed to see the truth, to feel it, to survive it." The rain outside grew louder, drumming on the windows like a witness to every heartbeat, every breath, every silent sob. Each drop mirrored the pulse of my own racing heart. I remembered all the small moments, the quiet mornings, the laughter in empty streets, the soft touch of hands in the dark. And I realized those memories belonged to me, not him, not her, not the betrayal. We sat in silence for what felt like hours. Words would not suffice. Understanding, if it came at all, would be slow and painful. I wanted to leave, to walk into the night, letting the rain carry away my anger and my sorrow. But I stayed because I had learned that confronting pain is the first step toward reclaiming oneself. Finally, I spoke. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said. Not as a plea, not as an accusation, just stating the truth, acknowledging the fracture. He nodded, swallowing hard. No words could repair this tonight. Perhaps no words could ever fully mend it. The night stretched onward, rain mingling with my tears, softening the edges of my grief. And yet, amidst the storm, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I could survive this. I would survive this. The cafe smelled of wet streets and freshly brewed coffee. I chose a table by the window, watching raindrops race each other down the glass. The world outside blurred into gray streaks, but inside everything was sharp and painfully clear. He arrived later than expected. His coat was dripping, hair plastered to his forehead. He tried to smile, but it was weak, forced. I did not stand. I did not greet him. I only observed, letting the tension stretch between us like taut wire. "I'm glad you came," he said, quietly, cautiously. I nodded, not out of forgiveness, not out of hope, but because my heart was frozen, waiting for the words that would define the rest of my life. He spoke first of trivialities, weather, work, errands, avoiding the truth, like a tightrope walker avoiding a fall. I let him. I needed him to find the right moment, any moment, to expose the fracture growing between us. And then the words came. Confession, admission, the truth I had feared more than anything. "There's someone else," he said. His eyes refused mine. "I never wanted this to happen. I never meant to hurt you, but it did." A hollow ache shot through my chest. A sharp, twisting pain that stole my breath, left me trembling in silence. "Why?" I whispered, barely audible. He looked at me, really looked, and for a moment I saw shame, regret, confusion. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe I was lonely. Maybe I was weak. Maybe I needed to feel alive again. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to erase him from my life. But I stayed, because seeing, hearing, and feeling the truth was the only way to reclaim my strength." The rain outside softened, a gentle drizzle now, tapping against the window like a witness to our sorrow. Each drop reflected the beat of my heart, uneven, uncertain, alive. I remembered every small moment we had shared, our first dinners, quiet mornings with coffee, laughter on empty streets, and I realized these memories were still mine, not his, not hers, mine. We sat for what felt like hours in silence. Words could not capture this. Understanding, if it came, would come slowly, painfully. I wanted to leave, walk into the night, let the rain carry away my grief and rage. But I stayed, because I had learned that facing pain is the first step toward reclaiming oneself. Finally, I spoke. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said, not pleading, not accusing, simply acknowledging the fracture. He nodded, swallowing hard. Some wounds cannot be instantly healed. Some truths must be lived through to understand their meaning. The drizzle continued, the city outside shimmering in reflection. I could feel the first stirrings of something I hadn't felt in weeks. Clarity. I could survive this. I would survive this. And though the night seemed endless, I knew the storm had begun to pass. By morning, the rain had softened to a gentle drizzle. The sky was gray but calm, as if it held its breath after the storm. I sat by the window with a cup of tea, Outside, the city glimmered with reflections from wet streets and streetlights. Everything seemed muted, yet peaceful. I no longer waited for him. No apologies were needed. No explanations could change what had already happened. I had felt betrayal, heartbreak, and loss. And yet, here I was, alive, whole, stronger than ever. I walked through the apartment, touching familiar objects with new eyes. The coat he had worn was gone. His empty cup remained on the counter. Even the little notes he had left held no power anymore. I had reclaimed them all. The memories, the feelings, the pain. It was mine, entirely mine. That night, I slept alone. The rain tapped gently against the window. A companion, not a judge. Memories of him still surfaced. A laugh, a glance, a touch. But they no longer demanded anything from me. They were simply part of the past. I returned to my writing, not letters for him, but letters for myself. To capture my thoughts, to honor my feelings, to remind myself that life goes on, even when love ends. Weeks later, the rain became lighter, a whisper instead of a storm. The city smelled of wet stone and fresh spring air. One evening, I saw him on a crowded street. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. I did not approach him. I did not look away. He smiled faintly. I nodded, and that was enough. The trail had marked me, yes, but it had not destroyed me. It had revealed my strength, my resilience. I no longer feared storms. I welcomed the rain as a reminder. Even broken hearts can heal. Life continues, even when love ends. I had loved. I had been betrayed. And now I chose peace. The rain tapped softly against the window, a silent applause for survival, for the woman who had found herself again. I breathed deeply, let the air escape slowly, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Because I was alive. Because I was whole. Because the storm had passed.
Sometimes pain doesn't come from enemies, but from the ones we trusted the most. Maybe that's how life teaches us to see the truth. Could you forgive such a betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. More stories are coming. Stories that will touch your heart.